joining us for our word of the day. This morning, as we're continuing through the Bible, we're going to look at Romans chapter 8. In this chapter, again, Paul is really explaining how we should view trials and pain in our life. And I want to look at verse 28, but I want to look down to verse 30 because verse 28 is probably one of the most well-known verses in Scripture, but it's also one of the most misunderstood. And here's what it says. We know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are the called according to his purpose. For those whom he foreknew, he predestinated to be conformed to the image of his Son, so that he might be the firstborn among many brothers. And those who he predestinated, he also called. And those who he called, he also justified. And those who he justified, he also glorified. Now, verse 28 is taken out of context a lot because people read that verse and they assume that once they become a believer, everything's going to work out for them. Their life's going to be easy. They're not going to have any pain. They're not going to have any trials. If they do have anything, it's going to come out better for them. And whatever they go through, it's going to be for their benefit, maybe on earth, physically, financially. However, they think if I go through pain, God's promised to make it better on the other side. And we struggle with that because we do have pain, we do have difficulty, our life's not easy. Sometimes we suffer loss, and when we're through the trial and we're through the valley, we look at our life and say, I'm not better off than I was before. I don't have more than I had before. God's not fulfilled his promise of making everything work together for good. I suffered pain, I suffered loss, and I'm worse off on this earth than I was before. So why isn't God keeping his word? But the promise of verse 28 is tied to verse 29 and verse 30, where God says, yeah, everything's going to work together for your good, but here's the good, that you will be conformed to the image of Jesus. That through your pain, through your heartache, through your trial, God is working to make you look more like Christ, to glorify God through your pain. So you may not be better off financially or physically or relationally on this earth, but as we go through pain and we look to Jesus, as Paul said, we realize that in our weakness, God is strong. We are strong in God. We draw closer to God. We learn more about his character, his love, his long-suffering, his mercy, his grace. God is shaping us to look more like Jesus so that while we are on earth, we can glorify God. That's the good. That's the good that God is working out in your pain. He's not working it out to make you wealthier or healthier or more popular or whatever. He's working it out to make you look more like Jesus. And to make us look more like Jesus, God's got to chip away some things. And that process oftentimes hurts. That process is hard, but it's working for our good to look like him so we can glorify God. Thanks so much for joining us for our word of the day. Be sure to be back here tomorrow as we continue through the scriptures. Have a blessed day.